Hey guys, this is part two of our Zendikar Rising review. We're gonna focus on green, which is my personal favorite color. Gonna
Yep.
sort by newest released cards, newest spoiled cards.
Yep. So thanks for joining J and Z's Brewhouse with this fun pre-Zendikar card review. So again, we've been talking about just the different cards that are already kind of being previewed and potentially their impact on limited or constructed formats. And we're kind of giving them a little bit of our own personal grade. Some of these are things that we haven't even reviewed yet, so feel free, if you have your own idea about any of them, to leave a comment and let us know what you think as well. Utilizing MTG Goldfish for our information at this point, non-sponsored, but really appreciate their content. So the first one we're going to be looking at here is a Mythic. It was released within the past 24 hours. It is Turn Timber Symbiosis.
Mm-hmm. Another one of those dual mode cards. So focuses as a green land and as a spell. And you know, Zach didn't really feel great about the white one just not being impactful enough for the amount of mana it costs. I like this one maybe even less than the other one because it's so random. You know, you really have to construct a deck to get any value out of this because you're going to put one creature into play. So you want that creature to cost more than 7 to be value add. That's kind of a stretch, you know. There's not that many big casting cost creatures that are worth playing your deck.
I think
go ahead.
You're right. The humor in that, you're paying 7 mana to look at the 7 cards, but then you know, if we read down through it, right, you are taking a card that potentially, if it has converted mana cost 3 or less, it's going to enter with 3 additional 1/1 counters on it.
Yeah.
And then you're putting the rest of those cards on the bottom. So you obviously don't care about most of your deck. You're only looking for this one card that potentially is converted mana cost 3 or less.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, the only saving grace about this card is that it's the dual mode, and it's the one that you can pay through life to have the force untapped, which is very relevant. So it's interesting that MTG Goldfish prices at $20 right now. I don't see this card being $20. It's just too random. I mean, I don't see how you can be consistent with this card. I was saying that I really like Emergent Ultimatum. For these whole series of cards, because the problem with building that Emergent Ultimatum deck is, one, in Standard there wasn't enough good mono card powerful cards that you wanted to tutor out and put into play, but 2, you have this tension between having a lot of really heavy costing cast spells and still having land in your deck, and this lets you do both, you know. So that's the one saving grace about this card. But this, compared to having 2 4/4 angels for 7 mana, not as good to me.
No, I can't even come up with a card that I would want to put in there that is a casting cost 3 or less if I'm trying to pump it. But I can't think of a top tier creature card that is unlimited casting costs that I really want to just pull out of the top 7 and throw it on.
Yeah, that costs more than 7. There's none. I mean, there was obviously the card that got banned, Agent of Treachery, and then there's Endray's Frontrunner, or I guess Crater Hoof Behemoth in Historic are cards I want to find with this, but that's it.
Yeah. So honestly, at this point, I don't know where that $20 potential price tag is coming from. It's just probably because.
So if you guys have one of these, I'd sell it right now, right? If you somehow gotten a copy.
If you have it right now, I'm sure that somehow you shouldn't have it.
Yeah, sell right away. So but.
So
which is
I mean,
sad,
honestly,
because, you know, I love green, but you know.
Yeah, ranking this card right now, if this was in my first draft that I got, I probably wouldn't even want to pick it.
In limited, this is a pass. Like, you can't play this in limited. I don't know. Maybe you could.
I give it a 2 because, like, I don't really even see it working when you have it in constructed. Yeah.
That being said, you know, a card like this could change in power level if there is something really worth tutoring. You know, like something like Agent of Treachery gets printed, where it's just a card that, I mean, imagine this card was in there with the Eldrazi's. That might make it worth it. Like, you get like an Emrakul So I think that's the only time this card makes sense to me. But,
so maybe in Historic it shows up. It's
Yeah.
a way for you to have a land and then potentially get something, and you might be able to cheat a sorcery out, whatever. Like, but it does not showcase well in Standard right now.
No.
I haven't seen anything else yet. I know we've only reviewed White in addition, but I would say, you know, let's pass comment on this one for right now. Maybe we'll come back and eat our words later on. But,
We're going to see some format breaking. I mean, this could be potentially format breaking, but it's hard to envision that right now. You're right.
I don't see it as being spicy because there's other things that already do this, like to, you know, look through your top of your deck and, you know, it doesn't seem to be doing anything different other than you can play it as a land also.
Yeah. And 3 green is not a small thing either. Like that's a lot of green too. So
it's a lot of green.
Yeah.
So moving on, here's one of the cards that I like to talk about, right? Veteran Adventurer, right? It costs 6. You say 6 mana for a 5/5. But the key is he is a human who is also a cleric, rogue, warrior, and wizard.
Which is pretty cool.
This costs 1 less for each creature in your party and has vigilance. So we've already seen something that looks kind of similar to this with the casting cost decrease.
I didn't read the article on the party thing. So you can have 4 cards in your party. What happens when you have multiples of a I guess, can you have 2 parties? There's only 1 party probably.
I think it's only 1 party. I think it's still like you could have like 8 clerics on the board, but if you have a cleric and a rogue, there's 2 in your party, right?
And then if like one of those cleric dies, is it like a state-based effect that the next cleric just slots in? Like, oh, I'm in the party, guys. Hey.
Well, I don't think it's like that bonding sort of scenario that we've seen before, like Soul Bond or something like that, where you are having to like match your cards together and be like, you're my party crew. Like, I don't think it's like that. I think it's just
probably like instant, like you said, it's a state-based effect then. So
right. So, you know, in this case, basically what you're looking at is turn 3, you have a cleric and a rogue already on the board. You've got a decreased casting down to, you know, 3 and whatever, and then potentially you can play your land. And
so best case scenario, this guy, if you had a full party out on the play, he could still only cost 2 then, you know?
Yeah. And
then he replaces any party member that would die. So
and that's the key, because he fills any vacancy from any party. So there's so many jokes
right now about like MMORPGs I can think of it. This is like, oh, I can do anything. I'm a warrior, I'm a rogue, I'm a wizard guy.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yep. I love that. I love that whole feeling. Like I'm gonna, you know, I've always wanted to be a warrior, but really I'm a rogue inside, but I still have some magical powers, and for some reason I use them both for healing and for attack. Yeah. So good. So, I mean, I really like him. I think there's versatility there. Again, if you look, he's an uncommon, so he's not even like in the rare slot. Potentially he's a complete bust because he costs 6. And if you don't have any of your other parts out.
So the ceiling, they talk about the ceiling and the floor for this guy. So the ceiling is really bad. 6 mana for a 5/5 vigilance is very, very bad. So post board wipe, you're gonna be sad to have him in your hand. But the ceiling is very high for him when he's 2 mana for a 5/5 vigilance that keeps your party intact is awesome. So so I'm gonna give him like a 3 because of that, just because like it sucks if he's in your hand and you have nothing on the board.
Right. Yep. I'm in the same boat. I think he's a 3. I think he's somebody that if you were in a draft and you got him in pack 1, you would work probably not to pick him in pack 1, but you might feel like you would have wanted him later, because
he could be a pull pick though. He could be like, oh, I opened him up, I'm in party now. That might be a pull pick.
And you just build because you know that you can get a 5/5 vigilance guy that fills in all of your other party stuff. And as we've seen already with some of the stuff in White, right? If you have not watched the video, go back and check it. But there's a lot of really cool party mechanic, right?
Did you read his flavor text at the bottom, by the way?
Yeah. How can I be of assistance? Well, first of all, you're riding on a really sweet dinosaur. So, I mean, just coolness factor alone, you just upped our crew.
I wish he had like a wizard hat on and a sword and like, I don't know.
Just a little bit of everything. Yeah. Like a bag of herbs.
We don't know what's in that backpack behind him, man. It could be anything.
No, he's got one of everything.
Yeah.
And I think his dino has 6 legs. So
nice. Versatility everywhere there. He's the all-terrain vehicle. He's got it. He's got it covered.
Moving on to the next card,
Yeah.
we've got the Skyclave Pickaxe, right? This is
Yes.
in that series of colored artifacts.
Yes.
So it's an artifact equipment. When it enters the battlefield, you get to attach it to a target creature you control. The cool thing about this equipment is the equipment itself has landfall. So
Yes.
whenever the land enters the battlefield under your control, equipped creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn.
Yeah.
Now, the sad part is it doesn't have anything else to give it just naturally. So this is like a blank card with landfall that
Right.
attaches to your creature and is
Yeah.
still susceptible
Oh, yeah,
to
that's true. So
any-
sometimes when you don't have a land in your hand, it does absolutely nothing. That's a good
it's
point.
nothing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely zero. And
Yeah.
to equip costs 3.
Yeah.
So I think out of this whole cycle of those cards,
Yeah.
this one's probably the worst.
It could be. You could be right. I mean, again, unless you're, and that's pretty hard to do. Like I was thinking, like the Zuza Lost But Seeking, could you?
You can't guarantee you have a land every time. You can't
Right.
guarantee you're going to play multiple lands each time. You
Right.
can't.
That's
even in the-
hard. It is way too situational. Yeah, you're right. I mean, if this card gave some sort of permanent buff when it's not landfalling,
Right.
but it doesn't even do that.
I mean, even
so-
if it was like an 0-2, like you got defense from
right.
it, right? Not even an attack power. But in this case, and it's only +2/+2. It doesn't even give you anything else.
Do you,
It's
you
not
remember
like-
that card in what's it called? The fairy tale set.
Eldraine?
Eldraine, excuse me. Yeah, so the one that there's that card like that in Eldraine, and I never even saw play, and it was even better than this. It was that staff for 1 green mana. You can attach it instantly to a non-human, and it gave a permanent buff. And this
It was the
doesn't even do
Halberd.
that.
It was great. I mean, the one that as soon as it entered play, you could attach it to anything.
And that only sometimes saw play. You do that like with a Gingerbread, obviously.
That was it every single time.
Yeah, but that
You're
didn't
like-
even. Sometimes that would even make the cut in limited. So yeah, you're right.
Right.
This
I
card's
played
not
that
good.
in limited so frequently. Gingerbrute, haste, put the Halberd on it, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're swinging for 3 each time, and
Yeah.
then you could make it unblockable. That was
Yeah.
one of my favorite little combinations from limited.
Absolutely.
This is garbage in compared to that.
Yeah,
right?
you're right. All right. Well, we can move on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Skyclave Pickaxe.
Yeah,
Nice alt
you
art, but yeah.
you didn't earn my my
Yeah.
nod there.
Yeah. So here's a little. I love the nectar pot because it makes you think of like a honey pot. It's a
Mhm.
nectar pot.
Yep, Kenzadu Nectar Pot, 2
Yeah.
drop, right? So you got 1 in a green. He's an insect creature, right?
Yeah.
And he's got landfall, and you gain 1 life when you
Yeah.
play a land. But
I
he's-
think a lot of this stuff really is contingent on how much landfall enablers there are, because the thing about the original Zendikar is there was fetch lands. So that was 2 lands a turn. We don't
Right.
even have that. We do have a Fabled Passage, but we don't have fetch lands. So
No.
landfalls is going to be a lot weaker in this time around, unless they can, somehow
Well, again,
spoil the
they're-
fetch lands.
There are ways to play additional lands each turn,
Yeah.
but this guy is not the guy that you want to have in your deck.
I mean, maybe
for
against
that.
the red deck wins but even then the life gain is pretty wimpy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, so, we're going down, and just in case anybody wonders why we're going in this order, these were the ones that were released within the last 24
Right.
hours. This is a common. We don't even really have to talk about it that much. We just
Yeah.
want to bring it up because, honestly, when you're talking about landfall, which is the mechanic that we're bringing back here,
yeah.
there's so many different flavors of what happens with the landfall. And in
Yeah.
this case, you got a basic 1/3 guy that is going to give you 1 life. In a certain scenario, it might be worth it,
Yeah.
but you're really not. This is not going to be one of those things you're picking anytime early in a draft, and you're probably not constructing anything around it because it just doesn't really do anything.
Okay. Moving
So,
on. This next
moving
card
on.
is absolutely, to me, bonkers, mainly because of the second line of text down below.
This card is amazing.
Yeah.
We're talking about Ashia, Soul of the Wild.
Yeah. Ashia sold well. So I'm just thinking from a tokens perspective, you could get so much freaking mana going here with him. I mean, obviously he's going to get huge. He's a big body, which is fine, but that big bodies can get chump blocked. But the fact that
Right.
you could pump out a bunch of tokens and then turn around and tap those tokens for mana, to me is nuts.
So I'm missing exactly what you're reading there because
So it's a
what I'm
non-token
reading-
creature. Oh, it's non-token. Every time, man, that one word. But still, I mean, okay, you go wide with this somehow.
No, this is fun because what you're forgetting here, if you want to read this for real, right? What we're looking at is when he enters, he's got power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control.
Right.
If you have creatures out already on the board, he's a 5-drop, right? So you should, hopefully, right? All of those non-token creatures become a land. They become a forest. So if you have 5 mana out and you have creatures out, he's a 9/9.
Right. And those creatures can now be tapped for green mana. That's what
Or
I'm saying.
green mana.
That's what I love
exactly.
about him. But the fact that's non-token makes him a lot less interesting to me.
But even in that case, right? So imagine you have 4 creatures out. He's the 5th creature that comes out. All your non-token creatures become lands. You have 4 mana now in addition to the 5 that you spent on him.
Yeah.
That 4 mana you can spend to do who knows what, right? Whether or not it's casting another creature, if it's a pump spell, attack spell, and it doesn't have to be in a mono green shell, but like, and not only this, but he's an elemental.
Yeah, that's true, which is a relevant creature type. So we'll see. I mean, I could see this guy. He's definitely going to be a commander. I mean, obviously he's a great commander card, fun build around for a mono green, but we'll see what he does outside of commander and constructed. So I think
legendary is the only thing that I don't like about him.
That's true. You want to run 4 of them because you're going to build a deck around him, and that makes it harder. I mean, maybe he goes along with your turn Timber Symbiosis as a guy to find just to make your deck consistent, and oodles of mana. Who knows?
I look at him in that 5-drop slot that we're losing Cavalier of Thorns.
Yeah, but he's no Cavalier, is he?
He's no Cavalier, but what he does is he fills it in and he provides that ability to play something else. So where Cavalier would have done like 2 things at the same time and been the 5/6 body on the floor, right? Where you're potentially getting like a 9-power 9/9 thing with the potential to cast something else. So even like if the mana is open or you have vigilance guys that you can attack and then be able to still keep them open for mana. You still have heroic intervention, which makes everything indestructible and hexproof. So for 2 mana, you can potentially protect all of your assets, and it's better to have that mana available. So it's kind of a nice buff for that.
So from 1 being Grizzly Bears, Jace being a 5. What do you? I think I'm gonna give this guy a 4. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with 4. I think it's that same thing. I think because of it being legendary, it's hard to build a deck around it with that idea that you're waiting for the 5-drop and here he comes. I think he is going to fit into elemental decks, and I think that people are going to have like 1 or 2 or 3 of them to be able to play through. So we'll see. Yeah,
I mean, think about that with Risen Reef. Oh man.
Oh yeah. Well, again, so Risen Reef, and then eventually we'll get to it. But spoiler, there's another Amrath. So and that guy's pretty nuts.
But in terms of spiciness, I don't know if I've ever seen. I've seen some abilities that have Skyclave, like there was that one forest that was a creature, but I've never seen that line of text before. Non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their. That's pretty spicy. So
that's fun. That's a fun one. I like it.
So Cragplate Baloth is our next card, and it costs an arm and a leg. But I think in a control deck, against a control deck, this card brings me lots of joy because one of my favorite cards was Thrun the Last Troll. So sick of getting everything countered. Doesn't have trample, does have haste, but costs 7 mana at the base. So hexproof haste can't be countered. But then you can kick them and make them a 10/10 haste hexproof. So very, very expensive, but ramp is still going to be relevant. You could probably still get this guy out on a turn 5 or something or turn 4 or 5 unkicked. So
I mean, I think the whole kicker thing on him, it's a 10/10 for 10 that can't be countered. Right.
Yeah.
So in that case, if it's a late game thing where you're digging through, again, if you're talking about our first card of the review, the turn Timber Symbiosis, right? This is potentially one of those targets that might be worth it. But again,
if he had trample, he would be a 4 in my mind, but because he doesn't have trample, he's like a 3. Like he's not even as good as the Carnage Tyrant, which remember it was impactful, but he didn't wreck the format either. So
a 7/6 with hexproof.
Trample, hexproof can't be countered, and this has all that, no trample, but haste is a really good ability too.
Haste is great.
I know. I love this next card, by the way. Oh my god!
Do you really?
This might be my favorite card I've seen in
the Inscription of Abundance.
Yeah, because for 5 mana, it reminds me of the new blue counterspell they spoiled. Like it does interesting things. I mean, none of them are extremely impactful, but it is instant speed. So it could be
Right.
like a 3-card blowout kind of thing.
So they do have one of these for each color, right?
Do they? Okay, I haven't seen them all
Yes.
yet.
Yeah.
We didn't see the white one yet.
I didn't see the white one either. I've seen the black one, and I've seen the blue one, and
Yeah.
I've seen now the green one. And talking about the green one, right? So you got 2 mana. You can choose one of these 3, right?
Right.
Put 2/1/1 counters. You can gain life, where X is the greatest power, right? That's probably one of the handiest potentially
Against green decks or red
yeah.
decks, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then target creature you control fights. So the fighting and the life gain is kind of cool. I don't know, the 2/1/1 counters doesn't seem that it's the biggest
Well, it can fit with the fighting though too. So like, your creature can be pumped and then fight something, so that helps there. But
right.
And it's instant speed, which could really make combat horrible for people. But
if you kick it right for the 5 mana and you get all of those, I mean that could be a win con in and of itself.
Right.
You pump something, you target something, fight something, and then gain life. I mean, the life gain part of it doesn't necessarily have that win con, but that idea of pumping and fighting and then swinging through.
I just love cards that are like so flexible. This card is very flexible. And I mean, Cryptic Command was great. So
yeah.
I'm probably sure green is probably going to be the one of the weaker. If these are a cycle, I'm sure blue will be the best one. He'll probably say something like counterspell and bounce creature or something like that, But
no, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's versatile. I think it allows green to have some versatility. I just don't think it does anything that specifically other cards don't already do.
Yeah.
And I mean, the idea of being able to pay 5 for it, it puts it all in one package, which is kind of nice. Instead of trying to collect a whole bunch of cards. So, I mean, I say it's like a 3.
Okay. I'm going to give it 3.5. I'm a little bit happier on it than you are, but you make a lot of sense. Like if you read these abilities, I mean, think about this though. What's a card that sees play right now? Ram Through. This card is only marginally worse than Ram Through in that one ability. It's 2 mana for a fighting ability, right?
Yeah, Ram Through isn't even seeing as much play now with Primal Might, which is.
But I see some of them, they do both. They do Ram Through and Primal Might. But I mean, this card in a mono green is just,
I don't know if it's going to replace Ram Through though, and I don't think it's going to replace Primal Might.
Well, it won't replace Primal Might. You're right, but
right. So
I guess this is a sideboard card against red deck wins. That's where I see it because You think you stabilized, you've dropped your Baloth on the ground or your Gargantuan, and you're like, oh, I got this blocker, I'm good. But they can still sneak in that damage, but this could get you 6 life in a hurry. So that's fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So
next
moving
card,
on.
man, great reprint, but again, no fetch lands. So this card is going to be a lot less fun without the fetch lands. So Lotus Cobra, if you played the original Zendikar, this was one of the best cards in that set. You could just get oodles of mana. You could sandbag your fetch lands and then have like a huge turn where you fetched in like 4 lands and you can get like 5 mana. So it can enable really degenerate things, the Lotus Cobra. But I don't know in this set without the fetch lands.
Yeah, I think people are going to want it because it's Lotus Cobra, but I don't know if it's going to work the same way.
Yeah.
So
I wonder. I'm really curious if they did say they're going to reprint fetch lands. So I wonder if in the next set or something like that, and where's the other triomes? Like, so I was really expecting fetch lands in this set. I'm just, that's what made landfall great. So I'm really kind of down on landfall until I see fetch lands come back.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, so for right now, I don't see it as being super, super huge. It still gives you some ramp ability. So
I'm going to play and try to break it don't get me wrong, man.
Oh yeah.
But we'll see.
Yep. 2 mana for a 2/1 with the potential that if you play, you can get more mana. Right?
Yeah, of any color, so it's a fixer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I see in historic too, like cards like Risen Reef and things like that, and Explore and Growth Spiral, which is still around, will make Lotus Cobra very interesting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, in limited and constructed right now, I'm going to put it as potentially a 3.
Yeah.
Maybe even a 2.5 because it is kind of situational.
Okay, you might be right. I think in historic he's going to be more impactful. I think people are going to try to play this guy in historic for sure. So, all right. Swarm Shame. I haven't even read this card, but a rare 1-drop is always interesting. Yeah, he enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, create a 1/1 green insect token. And then you can pump himself by tapping. Okay, I mean...
You put a 1/1 counter on it, yeah, which is great. I mean, anytime you can put counters on things, again, it's good. It's a shame that he's a 0/0 to begin with, and he comes in with just a 1/1 counter on it.
Yeah, he's kind of slow and dirtily though, because he has to tap himself. You know, I'd almost rather be like 2 colorless, no tap.
Yeah,
that would be really fun.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, he's like a bad Steel Overseer. I don't know, because like people aren't going to want to target stuff, and he doesn't even put 1/1 counters on anything. It's only on himself.
Yep.
I mean. I guess he's fun with that white card that just came out, the 3/4 Vigilance guy. Yeah.
I don't think he's worth it. I'm just gonna say I put him at like a 2, a 1.5 at 2. I think he's
in limited. Don't get me wrong. He'll get big quick and limited. So.
Well, potentially. I mean, I still think like anytime that there's removal or anything else, right? You target him, right? Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter becomes the target of a spell or an ability to create a 1/1 insect.
Well, I think he's going to see play if there is a competitive counters deck, but a lot of the good counter stuff is rotating, like Hutuli Raptor, the Proliferate.
Stuff's up.
Like the Pelt Collector, that's rotating too. Like, I would have loved to seen maybe in Historic this makes a counters deck, but you're right. The only reason why I'm giving him any chance is because they're so good, so rare to find at least semi decent 1-drop, and he's semi decent. But you're probably right. He's probably like a 2.5.
Which is where I want to move on to something that's a little bit more exciting.
Oh my God! What are the power level push on this card? Holy cow, dude! First of all, it's a 3/2 for 2 mana. That's a great price right there, right?
Right, 3/2 for 2. It's an elf, so
we're talking about Tajuru Paragon. I don't know if I'm saying the right Tahuru. Maybe it's a soft J. Who knows?
It's a soft J,
like a Cuban J. Tahuru.
It's a 2020 kind of J.
Yeah.
Yeah. So an elf, right, which is another one of these that is also a cleric, rogue, warrior, and wizard. So this is another one of those fits all sort of packages for your party, right?
Right.
And then has the potential for being a 5-drop here with the kicker.
By the way, just a rules clarification. I'm pretty sure that even though he is all those things, it doesn't mean you have a party of 4. I'm pretty sure it has to be entities, right? Like he doesn't count as a party of 4 by
itself. Yeah. Yep. It is also that is one piece of your party. It just so happens to be all of those.
Yeah.
But if it's kicked, you get to reveal the top 6 cards of your library and put a card that shares a creature type into your hand.
So that's the elf then, or I guess it's all creature types.
Cleric, rogue, warrior, yes,
wizard, right?
Yes.
I wonder why they didn't put that in the. I guess it was too much to put it in the creature, because people are going to get confused by that, right?
I don't think so.
Like, I mean,
because you already know that Judge. You already know that it's saying that it is in addition to the
all these other creature types. Yeah.
So
and it's in your hand, so you put one, but still, great on curve 2 mana for a 3/2 body is awesome with all that, all the creature types, and then it can find you a friend. So that's great.
So if you don't see it for, your turn 2, you just hang on to it.
Yeah. So I'm going to give this like a 3.5, maybe a 4. I mean, he's not format breaking, but he's really, really good.
I like the versatility. I like that it fills your party, but I also do not like that it doesn't really have anything else. Yes. So it's a little bit more than a Grizzly Bear in terms of, power size, but it really doesn't do anything beyond,
he's just an enabler. Yeah. He's not, he brings friends along that do good things. So that's what it is. Yeah.
That's really what it is. He's not helping anybody else. He's potentially going to find a friend.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of what it looks like it's, doing.
Yeah. So maybe he's a 3.5, 3, I don't know. He's just so well costed though. Whenever a card is obviously power level pushed, like he's such a well costed card that it makes you want to give him a higher score.
If it was a 2/2, instead of a 3/2, it wouldn't be rare.
Right. Well, I mean, still really with it depends on how powerful Party is, I guess. We'll see. And it's so far like Party to me seems like the hot stuff right now, and Landfall seems like, again, not maybe they'll shock me, but like it seems like Party's where it's at for the new.
I still look at it for 5 mana. You want to be doing something else with yourself than looking for a friend and then not having it come onto the battlefield. Because
I don't know, because I'm spoiling ahead, but I saw some really interesting cards for Party, like one that like lets you draw a bunch of cards for like super cheap.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's like a synergy engine deck kind of thing.
I think it helps, but I don't know if it's going to be the one that's going to take the 2-drop slot in your party. That's all I'm saying. All
right. So moving on, Bala Ged Recovery. I want to call that Red Ged Recovery and Sanctuary. So another one of these dual mode lands. And interesting thing about this is actually very rare, where it's target card from your graveyard to your hand. Usually with green, there's some kind of rider clause saying permanent, something like that, creature. Yep. And this is any card you want from your graveyard, which can cause degenerate loops, some kind of infinity combo. So that in itself is very interesting to me. And the fact that it also duels as a land, this could definitely see playing some sort of combo wombo deck, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and the casting cost for it for 3 to be able to get any card that you want. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about Planeswalker, instant sorcery, whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. So that's very spicy. That just took off all restrictions on that. Of course, a lot of the cards that you want to get out of your graveyard conveniently have exile this card after you play it too. So we'll see. But I like this card a lot. I could see playing this in my Eerie Ultimatum deck.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Play it once and then play that and then get your ultimatum back and then do it again.
Exactly. Yeah. And in my Eerie Ultimatum deck already is a self-mill kind of thing. So in a self-mill deck, this is fun. Very fun. I like this card a lot. I'm going to give it like a 3.
Yeah, I think it's probably a 3.5. I think it's going to find its way into a specific spot in one of these constructed decks moving forward.
And as I mentioned before in the white, I kind of belabored this point, but I'll mention again the green, is these dual mode cards are really strong. The fact that you can smooth out your draws and always have a land or a spell when you need it is just a really, really powerful ability for consistency's sake. So, yeah.
You might miss out on the land that turn, but the reality is if you want to play a 3-drop and you only have 2 lands, but you got this in your hand, you're going to put it out as a land, right? It's going to be fine.
Yep.
So, that's cool. Moving on to the next uncommon, we've got the Iridescent Hornbeatle. Hornbeatles have been kind of a fun thing here for a little while. This guy is a little costly. 4 and a green.
Yeah.
For a 3/4 body, but at the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 insect creature token for each 1/1 counter you've put on creatures under your control this turn. So again, back to this idea of counters with 1/1s. So if you've done a lot of 1/1s and then you want to pay 5 mana to potentially play this Hornbeatle, you might find that you're making a whole bunch of 1/1 green insect.
Yeah, because it scales too. So like if you have a spell that says put 5+1/+1 counters or something, that you're making 5 little insects too. So he's no what was that card from Ixalan that made the little sapling tokens that buffed him?
Oh yeah,
with a
Tender Shoot Dryad.
He's no Tender Shoot Dryad. He takes a lot more setup.
Yeah.
But I would love him in limited. I would enjoy this card greatly in limited. So I just don't know if you'll see constructed play.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got a big enough body, but I think that 5 mana cost is like the big downside to it, right? The only benefit is that at the 5 mana cost, you should be able to have that board set up where you are adding counters. Yeah. So hopefully when he does come in, he has that actual extra impact, so that 3/4 body becomes something where you're adding 1, 2, or 3 additional 1/1 green insects.
Yep.
That's the only thing. So if you can build around that and you're really working towards it, then that 5 mana cost is like, it's right on curve for what you're planning on doing, hopefully.
I'm going to give him a 2 right now, unless we see something that could make this guy go insane, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't see it. I mean, I'm just trying to talk about what the potential fun stuff is.
Definitely fun and limited, though. I'll give it that.
Oh, yeah.
So Khlani Ambush, another one of these dual mode cards, basically a fight card. It's instant speed fight, so that's good. And duels as a land, but again, it's a tapped land, which you want to see this probably like in a mono green shell. And sometimes tap land's really hard in these kind of aggro mono green shells. But I don't know. You might see a fighting.
It's a fighting for 3, which you have
Yeah.
other alternatives. So I mean, it's like it's really not going to be taking the place of potential other fight spells,
Right.
and it's not going to take the potential of a regular untapped land
And the reason
spot.
why I'm sweeter on the Bala Ged Recovery is because that's not an aggro card to me. That's more of a
Yeah,
kind of a ramp combo card, and this is an aggro card, but it doesn't have the hallmarks of aggro because it's so slow. You know, that's the difference to me.
right.
Yeah.
I don't really like it in the I wouldn't really see it as being something unless you're doing it in limited and you really need something that's going to be your removal.
The other thing I'd say is like I might put 1 or 2 of these in a mono green deck just to smooth out my card draw. You know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
sucks then because like you draw this on turn 4 and you need that 4th mana to play your questing beast, but you get this instead. But you draw it on turn 5 and you already have 4 mana on the board, then you're very happy to see this. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a forest. So that's the one thing I gotta say about it.
No, I'm not too high on it. I'm moving on.
All right, moving on. I'll give it a 2.
Murasa Sproutling, right? So now we've got a 3 mana. It's a plant elemental, right? So we
Yeah.
talked about elementals before. The elementals there's enough of them in this set to fill in where we lost a bunch of elementals.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of crazy stuff later on that we can potentially get into with elementals. But this guy's got a kicker. He's got the 1 and a green kicker. And when he enters, if it was kicked, return target card with the kicker ability from your graveyard to your hand. He's also a 3/3 body. So for 3, you're getting a 3/3 body. For 5, you are getting potentially 1 of your kickered cards back.
Yeah.
Haven't seen
He's card advantage, you know. So that's I guess I'd have to see what's worth kicking. He might actually see play in competitive. There's some really good kicker cards that you want to bring back. I don't know.
Yeah. And because he's probably not going to be in just a solid green shell, knowing that he is an elemental, and you're probably going to see him played with green, red, blue, you know, anything along
I
those
love
lines.
him in limited, by the way, though. That's a great card in limited because he's on curve for a 3/3. He's already really well costed, and then you get some bonus later. So that's a fun card. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 3 right now. He can
Yeah.
probably move up to a 3.5. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Again, like I said, it depends on the kickers. Like right now, from what the kickers I saw, I'm going to give him a 2.5. But you know, in limited, I would give him much higher, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Roiling Regrowth. Now this is a landfall card right here, and it also is a land fixer too. I love this card. Instant speed, by the way, too.
Yes.
Sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic lands. So yeah, it's still ramp because you're getting 2 lands for 1. And it triggers landfall. So there's a lot to be said about this card. This, I think, might see constructed play.
Right. It's no cultivate. It's not like, you know, same casting cost. And the big difference is with cultivate, you're putting 1 on the battlefield, 1 in your hand. They're both tapped. In this case, they're both tapped. You're just only getting 1. But it's a potential landfall mechanic, like you said. So
and I also like it in like card decks like Emergent Ultimatum for land fixing, and also then that card you put in the graveyard comes back out, or also cards like the what's that artifact, the Crucible.
Oh
yeah. So I mean, this would have been a lot better if it was like they didn't take out Field of the Dead or something like that. But this probably could see play in Historic too. Just because it's instant speed.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'll probably actually hold my judgment on what I think this one is until we actually see it. But I think it's probably somewhere in that 2.5 range.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably biased on it because I love cards like this. You know me, I love ramping. So
yes.
Yeah. Don't take my opinion on it, kids.
Moving forward, right? We're getting close to the. Actually, we're not. I'm looking at this list, man. There's a lot of green out here right now already.
Well, some of them are dual art on the bottom, but yeah.
Yeah, the Springmantle Cleric is 5 mana elf cleric. Enters the battlefield with 1/1 counter for each colored mana spent to cast it.
I mean, he's not going to see
just move
competitive
past
play.
it because
I don't even know about limited. Like he could only. I mean, you're not going to play a 5-card limited. Maybe you will.
No.
Like, there's a lot of color fixing in this set, but.
Even if it's 3 colors, right, that you're playing, you're getting 3/1/1. So okay, so it's a 5/6. Well, that would be great, but it doesn't do anything else. It's a dead body. It's just a 5/6.
Yeah. All right. He's a cleric, but yeah. Okay. Moving on.
Moving on.
You know, he's slightly better than Grizzly Bear. He's like a 1.5 there. All right, Tangled Floridden. What?
Yeah.
If only
Tangled
it costs
Flora,
1 mana. If he was like a Llanowar elf.
yeah, but see, here's the deal again, right? He
Yeah.
is an elemental that can trigger other elemental fun things, right?
Yeah.
For 2 mana, and he still adds you the green mana in 2 forms, right? One for free that comes in tapped, 2 for a 1/1 body, which still can tap for green mana. So I like him.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I love mana dorks, I guess. This
Yeah.
one's flexible. It's just weird though, because he does, both his modes do kind of like the same thing in a way. I
Right.
don't know. Interesting.
But when you play a land, right, you might want this as a landfall, right?
Yeah.
Or you might want it as an elemental.
Yeah.
Right. So for you, it's kind of like there's a versatility with this card that I feel is a little bit stronger.
If he was 1 green mana, I would be all about him. If he was like a
Oh,
Llanowar Elves replacement, that would make me so happy. But
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I think they have to not at least make Llanowar elves.
They have people are saying that's too broken anyways, even
Yeah.
in historic. But I don't know. Like we've been seeing like these 2 mana dorks have some sort of extra rider ability. So he does have one because he's got the dual mode land. But I don't know, compared to like a
Paradise Druid,
Paradise Druid or the guy that did the adapt.
the Leafkin.
The Leafkin too. Even he had a good. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's
he's in that
interesting
2.5.
though. You're right though that he's an elemental. So again, in historic, I'm just thinking about Risen Reef. Now you have 2-drop elementals that ramp with Risen Reef as well.
Yep.
That's fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Next, we've got the Taunting Arbor Mage
Yeah.
for 3. You got a Wizard Elf here. He gets kicked for 3.
Yep.
When Taunting Arbor Mage enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, all creatures able to block target creature this turn do so.
Mhm.
His flavor text says "Eyes on me," which is kind of interesting because it doesn't say that he specifically is the one that needs to be blocked, right? So.
Oh yeah, that's true. Target creature.
right.
All creatures able to block target creature. So interesting.
And he doesn't have haste, so it's not like a case. It seems a little. He seems confused. I don't think he's all that great.
No, 6 mana is a lot. I mean, for a lure effect, we've seen that for a lot cheaper.
Right.
I mean, I think he could definitely end the game in limited. I will say the limited, I would play him for sure because he'll end the game in limited. Like you
if you're wide.
Yeah, if you alpha strike somebody
yeah.
and like that. I mean, like all lure effects. That's
right.
Yeah. So, but other than that, yeah, not going to see competitive play. All right. So vast wood. You want to be like German. Vast wood surge. Vast wood surge. Search your library up to 2 basic land cards. Put them in the battlefield tap and shuffle your library. If the spell is kicked, put 2+1/+1 counters on each creature you control. 9 mana. Or 8 mana to do that.
Right.
I don't know.
For 4 mana, you get to find 2 lands.
Which is like migration. I mean, that's the cost for that ability to fetch 2 lands.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess good early. Again, in limited, I would play him because he's got the kicking ability to end the game. Yeah. And they are counters; they stay around, so I like that, but not competitive.
Yeah.
Vine
Moving
Gecko.
forward.
Yeah.
Vine Gecko, 2 mana, 2/2. He's the guy that you want if you are interested in kicking things because he makes it cost 1 less, right?
I love cards like these, by the way. They're just fun. Like these, it reminds me of what's that mage, the red blue mage in Ravnica, the goblin.
Goblin Electromancer.
Electromancer. So he's kind of like a goblin Electromancer there, except he grows.
Yeah. Well, in this case, yeah, but it's only the first kick spell you cast, so it means you still have to pay the kicker for whatever you're doing. Right. It's not just the spell that has kicker ability; you actually have to spend it. So if you think about it, most of those spells are pretty costly. You're not casting numerous in each turn. So he's 2 mana. Potentially the next turn, I don't even know of a 3 mana
kick
scenario where you get to kick something. So even though he looks really cool, he probably isn't going to be able to benefit from his abilities until like turn 4, turn 5.
He might only be a limited card. You're right. He's no Electromancer. So
yep. But he is an elemental lizard, so potentially there's something for that.
And how many geckos have we seen, by the way?
I've never seen a gecko.
That's amazing.
I mean, I see geckos outside all the
time.
time.
Right. All right.
All right, so now we've finally got out of the uncommon scenario and
Yep.
we're into the commons.
Yep.
I mean, just perusing down through some of these without having to go and really say everything that we see. I don't know if you want to look and just bring up one or two that you like.
Well, the Adventure Wait, I mean, I'm looking at this one.
Mhm.
He does allow you, at least you don't get blanked on it. Like it says if you can't find anything for that 2 mana, you get to draw a card. So that's interesting. But normally this effect, well, it does dig 5 deep. So, you know, these kind of tutor effects could be interesting in a party deck. I don't know if you'll see a play or not, but I want to say that. So other than that,
Yeah. A bunch of those kind of basics. I mean, if we want to talk about our Grizzly Bear, the Gnarlid Colony. He's a beast. He costs 2, but he is a kicker for 3. If Gnarlid Colony was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters on it, and each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it is trample. So you want to talk about like a little bit of a spiciness for like a common bear? Like, I mean, that makes him kind of interesting because again, that each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has trample. That's his just general ability. There's nothing there that is an activated ability. That's just his.
The only other card that, I mean, other than that, is this Scale to Heights. So Scale to Heights is Growth Spiral with some, it's not instant speed. So it's more like Explore. Did you see this? So it does a lot of stuff. You know, you get to draw a card. Oh, that's interesting, though. One of the things to note about this card is that you have to play the additional land first and then draw a card. That kind of really ruins that card for me.
Scale the Heights, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature, and then you gain 2 life, and then you may play an additional card this turn, and then draw a card.
Yeah, so you just
I mean, it does a whole lot. It does a whole lot for 3 mana. I mean, I don't see it as being a bad thing.
They just need to put the draw card first because well, no, never mind. I'm wrong. It doesn't matter because you can play the land after you draw the card. So never mind. Yeah, this card's good. I like this card.
Yeah. I mean, it's sorcery for 3. I think the biggest thing is like because it costs 3, it just puts it where you're already hoping to develop the board state, or you know. But in this case, putting the 1/1 counter, kind of helps because you already have something out there. So
it's interesting though because like I put this in a ramp shell, and how many ramp decks have the creature in play by turn 3? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. So, but the 2 life is definitely relevant versus red decks. So I don't know. I could see that. I'm gonna play around with this card because I could see it actually making the deck. So yeah. That's it. I mean, the rest of these things aren't really worth talking about. They're just filler. So
not really. I mean, I think that there's the Tajuru's Blightblade, which, you know, for me, it's one of those fun things.
Yeah, you love your 1/1 Death Touchers. So
I love my 1/1 Death Touchers. This one just so happens to be an Elf Rogue. So one of the things that we kind of discussed a little bit earlier on an aside was that I feel like rogues are going to be.
Oh yeah, wait till we get to blue and black, man. Rogues are going to be a thing.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of the potential for things like that. So a 1 mana Elf Rogue, and again for parties, right? He has that spicy ability to be the guy. Hey, I'm just here to kill something, right?
Right.
You know,
look at my oozing green blade. By the way, Rabid Bite is in the set. Both 2 commons there, so that's going to be an annoying combo. Tajuru Blightblade with Rabid Bite will be obnoxious.
Yep. So fun stuff. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think green's got some good starter material. I don't know how powerful it's going to be as like a mono shell for limited, but I think there's a couple cards in here that are going to transition over into being constructed.
I think my 2 favorite are probably the Soul of the Wild and the Inscription of Abundance. Probably the Soul of the Wild. I'm definitely going to play around with that card to see what we can do with it. So.
Cool.
All right.
And again, for everybody that watched, if you made it to the end here, feel free to let us know what your thoughts are, because obviously we don't have all the answers. We're just waiting the same as you.
All right.
So
thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be doing the next colors here shortly.